Hi, I hope you're doing okay today. This week for me has been a week of, I suppose, revelation. That sounds like too strong a word, but I've certainly been thinking and praying a lot about my life and about church life as we continue in this state of pandemic, and as that's going on much longer than we anticipated. And how is it that we move forward? Of course, we know much more than we did a few months ago about this disease, but we still can't do anything about it to prevent it. So we're kind of in a catch-22 and we're in a holding pattern, and that can make us feel very helpless. So the other thing I've really been aware of and praying for everyone, including myself, is that our mental health can hold up, because that's a real stress for us. And I know some people are really struggling, and if you are, we're here and we can, just reach out. I'm not a therapist or anything, but we can certainly have a chat and we can put you in touch with someone. Anyway, the person I wanted to talk about today is John Keble, and he was born in 1792, and his dad was a vicar in the Church of England, a priest. And he was really, really clever, and he went to Oxford and he got like a double first, which is super clever. And he worked at the university for a while. He was ordained priest, and then eventually he was called to take a church, and it wasn't a fancy church in the middle of anywhere big. It was just an ordinary country church, and that really was the heart of his life and his ministry. He was a country priest, a country parson throughout his ministry. In 1833, though, he was asked to preach an annual sermon in Oxford, and that's called the Assize Sermon. And he preached on a subject against the national apostasy. He was really concerned, as were other people, that the church was being boxed out of national life. I know that makes no sense in this country, but in England it did make sense to a lot of people that the church was one of the central pillars of society, and increasingly people who were leading the country were considered not to be thinking things through in the light of the Christian faith. Now, of course, in a pluralistic society, we can't understand that. And even if that thought is not where we are, what came out of it for the church and for social justice was actually pretty amazing. So this sparked a huge resurgence in interest in how the Church of England should be, especially the loss of ritual and the loss of identity which was taking place. And so Keble had friends, John Henry Newman and Edward Pusey, and they started writing essays which were called tracts, short essays about the church and about ritual and about recovering identity in the Church of England. And that was very controversial. A lot of them got in huge trouble with their bishops because they changed what they were wearing. They were called Roman Catholics and Popish and all sorts of things. It was really a divisive thing. Keble wrote quite a few hymns. In our hymnal, in the Episcopal hymnal, we have 2 of them. There are many more in other hymnals. They are a kind of bit old-fashioned, but what they do is they place in relationship us and God, and they all reflect a really deep longing and understanding and reconciliation, I guess, with God. If you looked at the meditation the other morning, one of his well-known hymns, New Every Morning is the Love, was the text for that. And it's really just poured out with God's love and beauty and our reflected beauty. And if you haven't ever read any of his hymns, look in the hymnal, because the 2 that are in there are really good hymns. One is New Every Morning and the other one is Blessed Are the Pure in Heart. So let me read that to you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see our God. The secret of the Lord is theirs. Their soul is Christ's abode. The Lord who left the heavens, our life and peace to bring, to dwell in lowliness with us, our pattern and our King. He to the lowly soul will still himself impart, and for his dwelling and his throne will choose the poor, pure in heart. Lord, we thy presence seek, may ours this blessing be. Give us a pure and lowly heart, a temple fit for thee. And I love that idea that God is just throned and held and enters into our heart. But this is the thing, at this time it could be really difficult to see that, and that we tend to lose ourselves in chaos. And so I just wanted to completely shift gear for a moment and think about someone who really had to have their bootstraps pulled up, and that's Elijah in the Bible. And he had run away from God because he had had some pretty tough things to say, and people really were annoyed with him, and he was in danger. And God says, come and meet me on Mount Horeb. And Elijah goes, and there's all these big spectacular things, earthquake and fire and wind. And in all that chaos, he does not find God. He finds God in a still, small voice. And God says, Elijah, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And that can mean many things, so I'll leave that to interpret as you will. But let me read the passage to you, and then we're going to have a short meditation and just some space for you to think. And listen for that idea of silence and moving beyond the chaos, and see if God's saying, what are you doing here? See if God's saying, this is what I want you to do here. Elijah really needed some pushing to get to that point. He said, go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, of fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, what are you doing here, Elijah? Perhaps as you watch the video that's coming, the meditation, you could sit with your hands open, your palms open in front of you or to the side of you or on your knees. Some people find that really intimidating, and it's because it's a defenseless posture. It's a posture of being here and now and allowing as opposed to controlling. So see if you can do that, and it may just be too much and your hands go back again, but it's a good thing to think about. Be sitting and just sit quietly and comfortably. You don't need to fiddle with your breath. You don't need to do anything different, but just notice that breath coming in and out and in and out, and keep breathing in and out and in and out. Now that might be too fast for you, too slow for you, whichever it is, just adapt it to you. Try and make sure you're using your diaphragm and you're not hunching your shoulders up. So just take slightly slower and longer breaths than you usually would, and then let them go. In and out. Now if you're breathing through your mouth, try and switch to your nose if you can. Breathe in pictures on the screen and just imagine breathing in God, breathing in God's beauty, in God's creation. Chair, just pick yourself up again, nice and straight, and reconnect with that breathing. What is it that God is saying to you? Why are you here? What are you doing? What is that thing for you? What is it that God's asking from you? Is there something perhaps that you're hiding from, that you're running away from, that you don't want to admit to yourself? Is there something you don't want to admit to other people? What is that? Just breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in that light and that truth, and let God wash out all that junk. Imagine light and life coming into you and swirling around your body, right down to your fingers and your toes. And as you breathe out, just imagine all that junk you accumulate, all those things you hold on so tightly to. Just imagine them just being cracked apart and gently blown out. In, fills you up and pushes out all those dark things which we like so much. Breathe in, let that breath go all the way through you. Breathe out, and you might like to name the things that you're breathing out. You might like to name just one thing. In. You might like to breathe in the grace of God that you're seeking. But remember to listen as well. Breathe in and listen. Breathe out. What are you doing here? What is God asking of you? As you sit there, just come back into your body. Just be aware of where you are. Move your fingers and your toes and your hands and your feet. Maybe very gently roll your shoulders back, very gently. Maybe clench and unclench those fists. Maybe lift your arms up a little way, or even all the way over your head. Engage your calves and let them go. And then wherever you're getting to, make sure you're aware of where you are, make sure you're breathing normally. And then just go over in your mind very quickly what it is that you heard, what it is that God taught you, what it is that you still need to learn, the conversation that was just begun. Because all of that is immensely exciting. All of that is for you, because you are the one that God's calling. And that's amazing. Whether you're on the top of a mountain, or whether you're in a vestry room in the church, or whether you're in a living room or in your office, it's amazing. Go on, Elijah. Go and do what you're meant to be doing. Hear God saying that. Go on, I've got you. Go and do what you're meant to be doing. Amen.